No soy dominicano, pero ya tú sabe. Before we get started with tonight's show, rest in peace to Nolan Wells. The man is no longer here. So I just want to take a moment of silence real fast for Nolan Wells. Let's get straight into the content, ladies and gentlemen. Nolan Wells, individual that was around his peers on the 4th of July, is no longer breathing on this green planet. And what I'm trying to understand is that how come the black community is pointing the finger towards the white people? There is obviously no witnesses, but X amount of members was around Nolan Wells. So how come there wasn't a single witness to testify? Now here we have a trying to think of the word a not a widow, but the mother of Nolan Wells. She is no longer a mother, unfortunately, because her child is no longer here with us, and it's really sad. Shout out to Daniel Berry Sports in the building. It's real sad that the mother of Nolan Wells has to go and speak on her son, not for his accomplishments on the field or his academic accolades, but because he is deleted. Now, what I'm trying to get down into the nitty gritty, was he deleted from his own doing, or did somebody else do so? Now they're saying that he was practicing something that is a controlled substance, and his friends also was practicing a controlled substance. Also, they were saying that his friends are the son and daughters of judges and people that are government officials, so they're trying to hide their tracks. Talking about they cleaned the boat. The man didn't have a cell phone. They returned his cell phone. How is Nolan Wells going to be returned without a cell phone? What kid do you know is without a cell phone? But I digress. The man went on a private island. Just so many red flags and inconsistencies. But one thing that we're not going to do, ladies and gentlemen, we're not going to point the finger at somebody until we have clear cut evidence. We as a people have to do better, because we're looking like fools, and a lot of people is exposing themselves as hidden racists. How are you going to be a grown ass person with children, with a job, a degree, multiple degrees? Some people even have doctorate degrees, but yet they are blaming a certain ethnic group, talking about we tired of our ones passing away off the hands of y'all. Well, let's keep it a stack. Rest in peace to Nolan Wells, but let's not act like blacks don't kill blacks. I mean, I feel for the boy, the young man. Absolutely. He is no longer breathing with us. And now you have the whole community blaming a certain ethnic group as if they're out here chasing down black people. We got to stop the cap. This is big 2026. And we're acting like it's Jim Crow laws. This is not 1935. This is not 1920. I don't have to ask for permission to go outside. I don't have to go to Mass and be like, Massa, I worked all day. You have permission to blow out the back of my wife. You have permission to blow the back of my wife, Massa. Anything to please you, Massa. We're not living in those days and ages. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of content creators is exposing themselves as hidden racists. Their hate is so hard. All I hear on social media is people crying, talking about, oh, the white man, you can't live in the world of the white man. Well, if you really feel some type of way about the white man, quit your job. Because if you so against white people, why do you work for them? Because they're the same people that write your paycheck, right? Talking about you can't trust white people. Obviously anybody with a brain on top of the shoulders, why would you be the only minority in a group? Something that Nolan Wells, we had to debunk that lie. He wasn't the only black on that island. The lies are told on the internet is crazy work, and that's why, ladies and gentlemen, we have to do our own homework and due diligence and finding out the truth for ourselves. Believing the next person, believing that he was the only melanated person on the island. Do you really think so? Stop the cap.
Hair, if you were black, white, purple, green, looked like a marshmallow. Like, he just wanted everyone to be in peace with one another.
All together, my family, this is going to be our new norm. He was the jester in my court. And yeah, he will be missed greatly, not by us, but by the whole community.
He was just a special kid. Like, he was a special kid, but again, just heart was so big. And we're gonna miss him dearly.
It's a lived experience for many Black Americans that oftentimes when our children are killed in highly questionable situations, that there is this notion that, oh, it was nothing wrong, no foul play, let's just sweep it under the rug. Well, we refuse to sweep it under the rug. We refuse to just let Nolan Wells' death be in vain. We are going to make sure that we get to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, because Nolan deserves it.
Stop killing our children, son of a bitch. We don't care if you think you're rich. We love our children and the color of their skin, and we're getting tired of being as the next of kin. You twisted monsters are going too far. Don't you know your own children will suffer if you keep magnifying this civil war? The people are becoming more and more empowered. You can hide your face, not your soul. Once again, we love our children.
The more I learn about the Nolan Wells case, the more I'm convinced that it was a Klan initiation ritual. One kid's parent is a judge, another kid's parent is a lawyer, and another kid's parent works in the jail. Happens in Mississippi on the 250th anniversary of our country, not to mention all the Black people that have been found hanging from trees and the big group of white masked men marching on the Capitol. This is all Klan activity. The racism in this country disgusts me, and it's a big reason why I'm no contact with most of my family. I don't talk about it on here, but I have a Black brother, and my mother raised him to believe that racism isn't real. I pretty much started fighting with my family and going no contact with them when Kyle Kaepernick took a knee, because that's when all of them started feeling comfortable in their racist skin. I haven't really had a relationship with my brother since he was 12 years old, because my mother cut me out of his life because I took him camping and to a dinosaur museum when I found out that she told him he's not allowed to be a paleontologist because dinosaurs aren't real. And he was like autistic level genius about dinosaurs. And instead of being a paleontologist, she forced him to go to Bible college. And now he's got a bunch of white Christian friends. When I hear about shit like this, I think about my little brother and something like this happening to him, or something happening with the police. And like I noted before, I'm not trying to make this about myself. I'm just sharing this information so you could have context about where I'm coming from. But if we don't keep speaking up about this stuff and about the Epstein files, nothing is going to be done about it, because the people that are in power are the Klan members and the people in the Epstein files.
Ladies and gentlemen, if the government officials, if the father is the judge of these boys, the friends of Nolan Wells, then how is justice going to be solved? I mean, obviously, they're going to cover their tracks, even if, for example, even if all the evidence was in the favor of Nolan Wells, still, who's controlling the court system? Just like with the Epstein files, not a single arrest has been done in the United States, but the files has been released. Meanwhile, overseas, plenty of high government officials, prime ministers has resigned from office from the Epstein files. But in America, the only thing that we heard was Ellen leaving the country, Ellen DeGenerate. She's among the worst. So they're showing that, yeah, we do this behind the scenes, but you can't do nothing about it. Y'all let me know in the chat. How is justice going to be done if the parents of the children are in the courtroom? Are they going to punish their own, or are they going to protect their own? We know what time it is. They're going to protect their own. Let's go back into the content.
For us, what was going on with his cell phone?
Yeah, and that's something that's really troubling to his family as well. You know, the guys on the boat, they said Nolan stayed, but they took his cell phone. That's not adding up to them. The fact that then when the family gets the cell phone back, Lindsay, they're saying they are trying to understand why there are deleted messages. And so it's very concerning.
Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. Deleted messages was found off of Nolan Wells' phone. Now, if nothing was tampered or altered, why was messages deleted? Also, they were saying that Nolan Wells was very active on Snapchat. For those that are very familiar with Snapchat, you have up to 24 hours and your messages before it gets deleted. There's a feature that you can text between your friends and you can go back to those messages and those messages will still be there. Upon researching Nolan Wells' cell phone, all that was deleted. Why is that? His parents said he's very active on social media, so that's a red flag. Why was his phone wiped clean and why was the phone not physically with Nolan? If he was disposed like they say he was, shouldn't they have found the body with the phone on his personnel?
To them.
And we know that Nolan was a great athlete on the football field. Do we have any sense of how comfortable he was around water and boats?
You know, his father said he was an elite athlete, that he prided himself on his physical prowess. He said that his son could swim, and so they're just not accepting that Nolan drowned accidentally.
Beyond the headlines, have the Wells
Also, how come not a single witness saw Nolan? They're saying that Nolan was good with the ladies, and that's why they took him out. So it's nothing but he say, she say. But here's exhibit 1 of Nolan pulling off snow bunnies. Snow bunny to the left, snow bunny to the right, and then he had another snow bunny. Now this woman that's on the screen, she was the last woman that was seen with Nolan. Now she's going to cooperate with police. But what I take from this, do whatever you want to do, but you gotta have a friend with you at all times. Nolan, maybe he was trying to do something, have some alone time, and things transpired to where he was no longer here with us. But maybe, ladies and gentlemen, if he had a accomplice sharing the best interest of him, he would still be here with us. So what I take from this is not to spread racism, saying that, oh, blacks should stick with blacks, we should stick with each other, we shouldn't date outside our race. No, do whatever the hell you want to do. You're not going to tell me to do what I want to do. I can guarantee that. You will not tell me what I'm going to do in my life. That's cap. That's crazy how people tell the next person what they should and should not do. But what I will say is be careful. You know the history, you know the track record. You playing in the snow, right? Nolan wants to play in the snow, not knowing the backstory of the snow. Like it's sweet out here. Look at this picture of Nolan in the middle of the water. He is an inverted Oreo. Now, he grew up with Caucasian friends. He's comfortable. Okay, cool. You're comfortable, but also we got to add context. It's not like he's up north in a liberal state. He's in a very conservative state, Mississippi. I don't know how many S's in Mississippi, Alabama, all down south. You don't know the backstory of the South?
family said how they would like Nolan to be remembered.
Yeah, everybody, not only his parents, but the whole community, his teachers, his coaches, the people at his college, they're saying he was just a great guy. Always trying to be supportive, be encouraging, wanted to make.
Yo, what's crazy work? I think I gave a take and my microphone was muted. I'm gonna give my take again. What I don't like, ladies and gentlemen, is that if Nolan wants to play in the snow, that is his business. Now, personally, I never played in the snow, nor will I ever play in the snow. That's personally me. Now, if you want to play in the snow, that's your business. I'm not gonna judge you. Personally, me, I like to eat rice and beans. Maybe you hate rice and beans. To each his own. Content creators talking about we got to stick within our own race. Are you serious? In the big 2026, we've seen interracial couples at an all-time rate. It's at an all-time high. interracial couples, and you're telling the black men not to play with other races? No, no, no. This is what I'm gonna tell the black men, to be mindful of your surroundings. Also, you are residing in Mississippi. If you just do the history of Mississippi, why in the world would you be the only melanated person in the water? You don't have a friend close by of your same skin color? Now, I don't know about y'all, but I would never be in this situation, being in the water, being the only minority on 4th of July. If something happens, who's going to look out for me? Who's going to look out for me if something happens? I could catch a cramp. Who's going to help me out? My brother will.
The world a better place. His mother talked about his smile, and she's like, she doesn't know when she's ever gonna smile again.
How sorry we are for you and your family. And first question, how are you two holding up?
Taking it second by second.
Day by day.
Second by second and day by day, which we all can understand. And I just want to ask you, the friends that Nolan traveled to Horn Island with, they say that he stayed behind voluntarily. Why would he stay behind?
That we cannot answer. I can't fathom why he would. Like,
I don't know why he would. We always taught him to, if you go with a group, you stay with a group. Even when he was in college, he would say, Dad, well, we're gonna ride down to a party or something in another city. Now, so I was tell him, look, if you go with 5, you come back with 5. Do not separate from your group. Because I always said safety is in numbers. And he always said, yes, sir. So he knew to stay with his group.
Too soon to make this comment, but I'm gonna say it. You are the kid. The adolescent is a reflection of the parents' teaching. Parents, as we know it, are not going to live forever. But as a parent, you can instill valuable lessons that's going to be in the son or daughter's values that's going to last a lifetime, and they can spread those values from generation. Obviously, this is a reflection on the parents. Now, kids make mistakes all the time, but some mistakes should never be done. How on your God-given brain that's on top of your shoulders do you think it's okay to hang out with a certain ethnic group, no cell phone in your personnel, and you're a minority? You're asking for trouble. Before this event even took place, he needs to say, okay, who's going to be there? I'm going to be the only one? Okay, bet, let's go. What? What I don't like, though, ladies and gentlemen, is that the false narratives on Nolan Xavier Wells' name, until there is proof, we can't point the finger at anybody. We can only say rest in peace to Nolan Xavier Wells, because he could have potentially drowned from a cramp. Who knows? He could have overdosed on a controlled substance. Who knows? I'm not trying to put anything on his head, but these are all accusations. This is not cold facts. But people are spreading rumors and opinions, which you're entitled to your opinion. But how you saying this, that, and the third if you don't have the evidence? These stories, rest in peace to Nolan, and recently Carmela Anthony, he is serving 30 plus years in jail. These two back-to-back stories. There's also another story that I'm going to make a video probably tomorrow, if not Sunday, of somebody disposing of a little toddler, decomposing her body and dumping her remains in the water. It's just a spiritual warfare at this point. We go out into society, keep your head on a swivel. Don't think it's sweet. I understand the 4th of July just transpired, but to put your guard down so down to where you don't have your phone and your personnel is some crazy work.
So why would he split from his group? I don't know.
So that would have been unusual for him to split from the group. And you said he would always check in with you. Did he check in with you that day?
So that day, no, I don't. But of course, too, they were on the boat. And usually when he is out there, which it's not uncommon, he's, I think, since last year, he's been going there occasionally with his friends. And so it would always just be like, hey, Mom, I'm back, type of thing. But this time there was no call or text from him. It was.
So as a parent, you allowed your son to go on a private island multiple times? So this is not the first time, ladies and gentlemen, that Nolan was on this island. So he was comfortable. And you can only go to that island by the way of boat. So they had the ultimate privacy to do God knows who what on that island. And as a parent, you allowed that. Is that a reflection on the parents? Y'all let me know in the chat.
From his friend.
And then too, we really didn't worry a lot about it because it was his last weekend to have fun.
Yeah.
Because that Monday he had to report to school. And we was preparing to take him back for camp to prepare for the season. So we're gonna see. He wanted to have his last little hurrah before he locked down and get ready for the season. Because like I said, the entire summer he's training. He got more serious. He started to understand what I was trying to tell him about football, not just being fun, but as you get farther in it, it becomes a business. If you want to excel, you have to understand, and you have to understand both at the same time.
And we know, Ben, that you said that you're going to do an independent investigation.
Yes.
And you say you have Nolan's cell phone and messages were deleted. How could you tell messages were deleted?
Well, his parents got the phone back, and that's something that's important, Michael, because they tracked this phone on Life 360.
So Life 360, but when I received the phone call from Warren, I immediately called my friend Tashima and I said, hey, have you guys seen Nolan? Because her two sons, Jalen and Javon, they grew up together. They played City League sports together. When they got into school, they played sports together. And so she was like, hey, okay, the boys were pulling up the location from Snapchat. So the Snapchat location looks completely different than the Life 360 location. So when I pulled up Life 360, it was different. It was showing everywhere the phone had been. I was like, well, it's showing that he's back on land. He's like, but no, he didn't come back with us.
Well, how were you able to get the phone?
So we tracked it, and my friend Tashima went and picked it up.
It wasn't like they said we got his phone, they tracked it. And that highlights all these contradictions, Michael. The fact that they said Nolan was talking to a young woman and she said that he said, I'm going back to get on the boat with the boys. The boys said that he said he was going to stay with her. And so that's an obvious contradiction. And then this video of this, you can hear an argument going where Nolan is saying, give me my freaking phone. What are you freaking doing? And so then his phone ends up missing. I don't know any teenagers, Michael Strahan, who says, if you believe their story, I'm going to stay behind and I'm going to leave my phone. I mean, no young person leaves their cell phone. And so then there's so many things their parents were telling us about. Even why didn't his body wash up with the tide on Sunday? Why would it come on Monday? It's not adding up. And that is the problem when you think about the history of Mississippi.
Yes.
So they're saying, why was the body found on Monday and not the day before? Y'all let me know in the chat. Was this a planned, orchestrated play, or was this just a freak accident and Nolan was just a bystander to a very unfortunate situation?
So there's so many questions that need to be answered. And is there anything you'd like people to know about Nolan? What would you like them to know about your son?
No,
It's okay.
Nolan. Take your time. Nolan was very loving. He was liked by all. It was not a friend he couldn't make.
No, we'll be right back with more for the parents of Nolan Wells and attorney Ben Crump. We're back now on GMA with the parents of Nolan Wells, Christina and Elmore Wansley. And I want you to please continue to tell us what you want the world to know about your son.
So Nolan was just like this bright light, right? Walk into a room, his smile, his energy was just so infectious. It's almost like he drew you into him. And he was just one of those people, he always wanted everyone to be included. He didn't want anyone to feel left out. I remember one of his teachers emailing us. I can't remember what grade he was in, but basically it was math class. They had a special needs student, and she asked a question, and Nolan got everyone to put their hands down because he wanted that student to answer. And so the student answers the question, and she was like, Christine, the classroom, Nolan went crazy, and everyone else started going crazy, just celebrating that child, making them feel included. And that was the person he was. He loved everyone. And I always told Nolan, you have to be careful when you have such a big heart like that. I love that God blessed you with that, but you have to be careful with that because, that it's not always returned, that type of love. But he was just genuinely a good person. I always say, all the best parts of me are with him.
And Dad, anything else you want to add?
It's just, he's going to be really missed. I know a lot of his teammates, they all look to him as a leader. He's more like a silent leader. Not real big on words, more on action, which is kind of like I was. I really wasn't real big on talking. I really wanted to show you, and you follow me, and people followed him. And it's gravitated. He put in the work, he worked hard, and he knew he was focused on what he wanted. And he wanted to make life better for, his family. He wanted to have his own family. He used to say, Dad, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. I said, well, son, you got to take it one step at a time. Slow down, let's go, let's walk this thing out. Let's train, let's sign our deals, let's make these teams, make these camps, put the work in, and everything else will work out. Even his baby brother, their bond got even stronger, because now I have a big brother that he's finna do something, so now I want to outdo that. So his focus and his confidence has got even better. So I was looking forward to both of them having outstanding years.
Seasons,
He seemed like he inspired in the home, and he inspired
Absolutely.
outside of the home. And Attorney Crump, where do we go from here? What's next?
Well, the deleted messages that Christina was going to briefly touch on, we want to get the phone and figure that out.
Backtrack on that. When we finally got his phone, me and my sister went through the phone. We went in his Snapchat. He had 2 accounts, absolutely nothing. It wasn't even 24 hours, which is how long videos and pictures stay in Snapchat. And I was just like, that can't be. Like, I've seen Nolan whenever he snaps, like when he goes and he's having fun, like he does videos, like there was absolutely nothing, no saved videos. And even my sister was like, yeah, that's suspicious,
Michael, we having an independent autopsy done at the behest of his family. Colin Kaepernick helped pay for the independent autopsy.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is very disheartening news. Just when he thought Carmelo Anthony's situation wasn't enough, just around the corner, here we got Nolan Wells. But what I don't like, ladies and gentlemen, is all the inconsistencies. Why was the cell phone not in his personnel? Why was Nolan Wells by himself on the island when initially he came with a group? Why was Nolan Wells found days later? What was they doing in the meantime? Was they trying to delete the evidence? Why was Nolan Wells the only melanated person in a group? Even though there was other melanated young men in the island, how come those same people wasn't looking out for him? Now, there's a situation personally I want to share. Back in the day, iPhone, I would say 4 or 5 came out. So I would buy the phone, flip the phone, say buy it for 300, sell it for 600, make a nice little profit. One day at the flea market, ladies and gentlemen, I don't mind sharing this story. I met somebody, he saw me, he saw what I was doing. He asked, hey, yo, man, let me buy that phone from me. I'm like, cool. Set a date, time, brought friends with me. But instead of the friends being physically with me in the sale transaction, they was in the mall when I was outside the mall. And unfortunately, I will admit, I got robbed, ladies and gentlemen. He stung me for those cell phones. Now, it could have been way worse. My life could have been on the line. But I learned a valuable lesson. Why did I bring my friends to make a transaction if I didn't even use them? What was the point? There is power in numbers. I'm not bigger than the program, and the program does not discriminate. He saw an easy lick. He's like, oh, this dude has cash and he's by himself. Oh, man, this is easy pickings. Now, karma will handle that guy for sure. And this was years ago. I was a very young lad. I learned my lesson. Don't do anything alone. And if you do stuff alone, man, you better watch your six. You better keep your head on a swivel. Even when you think it's sweet, still, if you're on vacation, wherever you are, don't be thinking it's sweet out here, especially if you're on your grind, if you're on your purpose, if you actually have a future. We got to stop the cap. Not trying to make this biblical, but it says in the word, the devil comes to seek, kill, and destroy. If you have a future, he's coming for your head. And unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, the devil came for Nolan's head. Now, was it his own decision? Was it his own actions that made him be deceased? That's what we're trying to discover, and that's what we're going to find out with the autopsy. Ladies and gentlemen, Kaepernick, the former quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers, is going to fund Nolan Wells' autopsy, a separate autopsy from the hospital. And also Tyler Perry, regardless of how you feel about the man, I know he has very controversial um issues on his behalf, but he's going to pay for Nolan Wells' funeral. With that being said, I want that autopsy report, and we got to see what's going on, because that autopsy would tell a lot what transpired. But what I take from this message is that as a minority, Hispanic, Asian, as a minority, whatever minority you are, don't be thinking it's sweet out here. You can have an accomplishment, celebrate, and just when you put your guard down, the devil's around the corner. So take heed of your life, because once again, if you have a future, the enemy is very mad, because you're going to make a difference in this world, in a world full of sin, in a world full of evil. If you have a future, the devil ain't happy about that. He's ready to take your head off.
Autopsy. We flew his body up from Mississippi to D.C. because they wanted an autopsy done by a person with no interaction with the Mississippi law enforcement, because
I think that's great. Get an autopsy separate from Mississippi, because Mississippi, man, they're tripping right now. They didn't inform the parents. The parents got to find out the information through the news. They have to hire Ben Crump, the lawyer that is speaking currently. And they raised over how much thousands of dollars? They're about to hit almost 400K, if not 500K. The original goal was 250K. Now, you have some people saying that they are scamming the system. I don't think they're scamming the system. I think they have to raise a GoFundMe to hire the right lawyers, because this is not just any ordinary case. Because if they don't have the right resources to hire the right people to represent them, then this would just go underneath the rug. How many times have we seen stories of injustice transpiring and it just goes without notice because the funds and resources wasn't available? Well, that's not the situation. The funds are available. So the family hired a lawyer. They didn't buy a Lamborghini. They didn't buy luxury vehicles. They didn't buy a burgundy bag. They didn't go on vacation with the money. They hired a very expensive lawyer to represent them and to get the facts straight of what happened to their son. Now, if the son passed away on his own actions, it is what it is. But at least they can rest in peace. They can have their mind rest assured that their son wasn't done wrongfully. People talking about the parents is finessing the system. How? Man, let it be, my God forbid, because words are powerful. We have to be very mindful of what we say. Let it be my own beloved child. Y'all will not hear me on a microphone right now. I would catch a case. My baby is gone. Somebody's going to have to feel that. So once again, I don't think the parents is grifting, excuse me. They're not grifting. They're not milking the system and getting a GoFundMe, because they need the funds to hire the top elite lawyers to find out what transpired with their son.
there's an issue of trust here that is really important. And the fact that they keep trying to say, well, suggesting it was a drowning, but nobody out there reported him drowning, it's not adding up, Michael Strahan. It is not adding up.
And honestly,
Ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to watch this full interview, link is going to be in my description.
we are doing this because at the end of the day, I would hope any parent would fight for their kids to find out if anything happened, what did happen. So we just want honesty and transparency. We want a thorough investigation. We want that same respect that would be given to anybody else, and that's it. We just want answers.
Well, we really appreciate all of you being here. We hope you get the answers that you deserve to have, and we hope you get the closure that you need. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Mike.
Civil rights attorney Benjamin Crump joins us now. Ben, thank you so much. First of all, the most important thing, well, one of the more important things, how's the family doing?
They are still in disbelief, Don. It's like they say they're in a nightmare and they can't wake up. They still have so many questions as to how their son, who was set on Monday to have his tryouts, because he is a Division II college athlete, and this was going to be his year. He was having workouts, he was doing training, and so they know that he was very focused on moving to a Division I program, and so they're just shocked that within 48 hours of one of the most consequential days of his life, this would happen. They are just in disbelief. And the reason that's so relevant, Don Lemon, is, there was an alleged argument, and people say that was over things about he was being very clear to not have anything to do with anything that might get in his system, because he knew he had his big workout coming on Monday. And so that's why they're like, just not accepting any of this, Don. They are not accepting that their son just died by coincidence or accident.
Ben, do we know what that argument was? Do we know specifically if it was Nolan and people with him?
Well, we have an investigator talking to some of their friends, and we're gathering information. And when we get that information, we will share it because we want to be transparent. We don't want to speculate, but we want to investigate. And that's very critical here. That's why, Don Lemon, we are having an independent autopsy done on top of whatever autopsy was done by the state of Mississippi. We're going to have him flown to a medical examiner in Washington, D.C., where his body will be preserved to do an autopsy to study every aspect of if he had any physical injury.
Yo, shout out to science. And I think that's a great idea to have an independent autopsy away from Mississippi to find out the truth for yourself. What actually happened to Nolan Wells? Because they're talking about the man drowned. But how did he drown, though? If he was always going to the island in the first place, he could have potentially caught a cramp. But once again, all these are accusations. We don't have the physical proof. No witnesses. It's just he say, she say. All it is accusations. And hopefully the autopsy can uncover some type of light to this tragedy.
To his body beyond drowning.
Mm-hmm. And where are you in that process now?
The body is going to be flown today. We expect to have the results of that independent autopsy on Friday.
Mm-hmm. Ben, what does the autopsy show? Have they given you any information from the autopsy they did? What is that showing?
They haven't given us any information. Obviously, they are saying it's an investigation going on. And, at this point, I believe
even though Nolan Wells is no longer here with us, ladies and gentlemen, what I don't like is that this case is starting to start a racial divide, as if tensions wasn't already high. I don't like content creators or even people in general telling the masses, stay away from white people. What? Look what you're saying out of your mouth. You're spewing out evil. What you mean stay away from white people? The same white people that sign your checks. And even if you are an entrepreneur, I'm not trying to give justification to be friends with white people. How is it good to share bad when you're supposed to share nothing but love? Love overcomes all. You're supposed to show everybody who is within you, and what is within you is the power of the Most High, and it's supposed to be a reflection of the lights of the love. But if you're showing hate and nothing but fear, is that the reflection of the Most High? Absolutely not. So people are spreading out racism, talking about, oh, stay away from white people. I don't know how many times you got to see situations of the black man dying in the hands of the white man. First of all, there was no evidence that the white man killed Nolan Wells. We got to stop the cap now. Was he around his peers that was white? Absolutely. But we can't just judge a whole ethnic group until the evidence is out. And that's what makes us as a people look bad, when we don't have proof, evidence, but we're making accusations. Now, are you entitled to think, believe whatever you want to? Yes. But to spew out that same opinion without facts is crazy work.
Phone was found, but he was missing, and his friends could not articulate as to what happened. When did they last see him? And so, again, lots of questions are being raised here. The family sent out notices over the weekend. They were demanding for folks to assist them with finding their son. And again, no one could say what happened. And they kept asking the questions. Again, his friends, his white friends, they all They all came back, but Nolan actually died. He was his mother reported him missing late Saturday night, and the friends, of course, went out on a small boat for Independence Day, and he was did not come home. And so again, the question now begs, what happened? What happened? Did this happen on the boat? Were they on land? What's going on? I want to bring in my panel right now. Dr. Ome Congo, being a senior professorial lecturer, School of International Service, American University, author of Lies About Black People, How to Combat Racist. He joins us from Washington, D.C. Thelma Anderson, creator of the Public Opinion Court, author, Shut Up and Prosecute, joining us from Dallas. Representative Jolanda Jones, Texas State Representative, lawyer out of Houston. Glad to have all three of you here. Lots of questions obviously are being raised here, Jolanda, what happened in this case. And what's strange is he comes up missing. The other teams, okay, what information did they give? If you're going out, you kind of know what someone else is doing, unless they decide to just go off on their own. And that's why people are saying, what the hell? What the hell is going on? What took place here?
Well, of course, Roland. I mean, 4 kids left, 3 white, 1 black. The black kid didn't come back with them. They were on a boat to get there. So when they were coming back, they knew he wasn't there. Why would you leave? Why wouldn't you go figure out what happened? And, it just doesn't smell right to me. But, so many black parents try to put their kids in a better situation, or so they think, and they put them with white people. I mean, and I don't want to say, I hate to say it, because we hear this story over and over and over again, and they don't know what happened. Of course they know what happened. So the police need to be interrogating them to find out what's going on and what happened to Nolan. And I pray for his mom. I pray for his family. Who would expect that their son would go away with quote unquote friends and not come back? And when he's found, he's dead. So I suspect that the time that the kids have been back without him, they've been coming up with the same story. I suspect their parents have probably already contacted lawyers, and they're trying to CYA, you know what that means, cover their asses. But we hear this story over and over and over again. And black people think that integration was great. It wasn't. In 2026, we see that a black kid is not safe when he goes out with his white friends on an island. And I think black parents need to pay attention.
Again, we do not. Here's what. Again, this was a photo that was posted, and the family shared photos all over the weekend in terms of looking for him. So we don't know.
So I don't care.
No, 1 second.
We don't know.
1 second.
Okay.
1 second.
Okay.
Okay. We do not know what happened. All we do know that at one point he was separated from his cell phone. They went to this island. They went to Thelma was a remote island that was only accessible by boat. And so again, over the weekend, I saw a number of social media posts. On Saturday, on Sunday, folks calling for national media to pay attention to this story. Again, speculation is one thing. Facts is another thing. And unfortunately for this family, they now have to bury their son after his body was found this morning.
Well, all I'll say is...
One second, Jolanda, 1 second. Thelma, and I'm a Congo. Just hold on. Thelma, go ahead.
What we do know is that this friendship with these young boys have been going on for years. We do know for a fact that they have been on the water several times with Nolan, and he's happened to make it back every single time. But this time, what we do know is that there's a timeline. The timeline starts around 3 p.m. when there was a allegation that they could not locate him. There was another timeline that said around 4 p.m. they were still trying to actively search for him. But there's another allegation that around 7 p.m., that's when it was notified to the parents after they made it back with his phone. So in the interim, if those allegations are true based on the timeline, what was going on in the interim of those 3 hours? What I can tell you is that they have lost valuable evidence at this point, because what we did see is those young men on that boat drinking underage, which is a crime in the state of Mississippi. What we do know based off of the timeline that now we cannot collect urine samples to see how intoxicated these young men were. We can't collect any statements from them at the time of this happened to actually get a factual, accurate account of what they recall based on where Nolan was and where they last saw him. So now it's going to be upon the parents to get independent everything. They need their own civil rights attorney. They need their own trial advocate. They need their own ME expert. An independent autopsy done, not with the state solely, because it's too many questions that need to be answered. They're going to need a forensic phone specialist in order to determine what was going on with them phones, who made contact, who was talked to after the fact, what was the last contact with Nolan based off of cell phone service. It's going to be a lot, but it's some valuable time that has been lost. But what we can say for a fact is that they've been out on that water before with Nolan, and he's made it back every single time. But
So this is a Omekongo. This is from Capital B. They reported Wells was last seen on July 4th on the island, where he was hanging out with a group of friends. The friends returned home, but no one has come forward with any information about what happened to him. Later in their story, they say there's been no official reports or additional information from those who were present about what happened. That right there raises a serious red flag on Mekongo in order to understand, because if you had a friend and you go out, this is very simple. Did he fall overboard? Did y'all search for the body? Did they arrive at the island? Did all of you get off and go on the island? Were y'all together? Did you go separate ways? Did he run into someone there he knew and then he left with them? All those are the kind of questions that those friends are going to have to answer to authorities.
And these are the types of questions they should have immediately told the parents if they were being honest and upfront about what was going on. And I know that, this case is immediately becoming racialized, for obvious reasons. This also makes me think, Roland, we covered it here, 2022 with Shanquella Robinson. I believe she was from North Carolina, who went to Mexico with her friends, and they were all black, and, didn't come back. And then a video appeared of her being beaten and the like. And so we really have to, as been said here, we really have to pay attention to what Thelma was saying about all of the valuable time that was lost, because there's no way in hell I'm leaving with my friends to go somewhere and they all don't come back with me, and I'm not saying anything. I'm not talking to parents. I'm not coming home without them. So just the fact that these so-called friends left this person in whatever way, shape, or form, that automatically brings suspicion. And from what we understand, given the fact that the parents have been putting out the word to help find their child, it doesn't seem like these other kids came back saying anything. And that's the other part that leads to suspicion. And all of us who got kids in this area, this age, whether it's our own kids, nieces, nephews, whatever, kids in the community, cousins, it hurts at a deeper level. It hurts at a deeper level. And given everything that's going on in this country, of course, we're going to expect things, racially. But at the end of the day, parents lost their child under suspicious circumstances, and there are people who know the answers who are not talking right now, and that is unacceptable. And as more information comes out about this, the Black family, the Wells family, I'm also hoping that people are looking at ways to support them, to get them everything that Thelma talked about they may need, particularly as it relates to financial resources to get those things accomplished.
So
going around social media where people think that they're hearing an argument between people, and they're wondering whether or not Nolan is one of the people in that argument. You just described that you had another friend, not Nolan, another friend who was in and got into a dispute. Is that video the other argument that you were talking about?
Yes.
So, but is that Nolan in the video?
I can't tell. It's too far away. But in that video, I feel like the voices are too clear, like from the side. It's too clear for it to be that far away, for it to be Nolan arguing. And then also that altercation, it sounds just like my other friend that got into the altercation on the boat. And they were trying to, as he was in that altercation, I was calming him down. They were trying to get him out off the island. They were trying to get him back to land because he was just losing it. So
Describe that. That's kind of interesting. What was that about?
He was just very hostile. He was just really mad. They were just trying to, the parents on that boat were trying to get him out.
I'm curious if the police have, I know they say they're still investigating. Did any investigators ever speak to you about what you saw that day?
No, sir.
Really? Okay. Cops have not talked to you yet?
No, sir.
That's odd.
I don't see why the cops would have to talk to me. I mean, obviously, I had said my plea, because whenever I had talked to the people at Sunherd, it was whenever, the body was discovered. and the autopsy people and the all those people were there.
Well,
Not the
I'll tell you why I'm surprised. Because you knew Nolan well, and you knew that he was friends with these guys who were the last ones to be around him before his body was found. And I would think they would at least want to know, hey, just the things we're asking.
Right.
You know, did you ever hear of any of this stuff? It's odd to me.
Just to gather information.
Yeah,
as
that
part
the
of their
cops wouldn't have
investigation.
contacted you. Yeah.
And that's fine. Like, I'm completely fine with that. Like I said, I have nothing to hide. Like, that's my boy, and I want him to find justice. Like that. Like this whole case thing. Like whatever. Like this whole situation, and none of this adds up to me. So like, it's really hard. Like for like people to just like keep on saying things when like none of it adds up. Honestly.
So one of the things that I'm sure, Javon, you've seen has been a big part of this story, people making the point that, at least in the photos that we initially saw, that Nolan was the only African-American kid who was out there, at least on that boat. Do you think, having been there on the island with this large group of people, that race plays a factor in whatever happened here?
Again, I don't want to answer that. I don't want to answer that question. I wouldn't say like, yeah, I wouldn't want to answer that question. I mean, obviously we go to Ocean Springs, we're going to have white friends. So like, I mean, I guess.
You know why he doesn't want to answer that question? Because he still has to reside in Mississippi, and he ain't trying to be chased down by the Ku Klux Klan. Very wise answer from Nolan's friend, not answering that question verbatim, but going around the bush. What does it look like, Nolan's friend answering that question, and he still resides in Mississippi? What? In a major network like TMZ? Man, stop that. God.
It's pretty normal down here, but.
Yeah, I mean, and I hear you. If that's, I guess you're saying that it's normal, it's not out of place to be a black teen in that area and that you have white friends, right? That's not uncommon is what you're saying.
I'm sure every black person has white friends somewhere, you know? So I wouldn't say that it's a whole race thing, but it's just like.
Angry says the parents are doctors, lawyers, and judges. They have connections. Nobody's talking. Yeah, as soon as this transpired, unfortunately, to Nolan, the kids deleted their social media and they hired lawyers. Now, deleting the social media doesn't necessarily mean that they're guilty. They could just be trying to avoid the follow-up because they know what time it is. Nolan passed away. He's a black man. They're white. They're going to point the finger towards the white person. So maybe, they just don't want to deal with the scrutiny. But in that same statement, ladies and gentlemen, how is your parents going to be a judge and then we're trying to seek justice? Y'all let me know in the chat. If somebody's kid is a judge and they're guilty, is that kid going to receive any type of punishment for their actions? Or are they going to cover their tracks? Nasty work. Of all people, one of the friends' parents is a judge? That's
Obviously, they're going to paint it as that because none of this adds up.
Racist. He joins us from Washington, D.C. Thelma Anderson, creator of the Public Opinion Court, author, Shut Up and Prosecute, joining us from Dallas. Representative Jolanda Jones, Texas State Representative, lawyer out of WLOX.com, the local TV station there. The United Cajun Navy is a rapid response team when it comes to cases like this. And this is a quote from Brian Trasher. He said, there were some people that thought he might have wandered off to the middle of the island, maybe into that lake. We sent people up there today, and if he was barefoot, there's no way he made it up there. There's cactuses and a lot of thorny brush. He would not have been comfortable being able to make it to the middle of the island. He probably would have turned around and went to the beach. And this was the story that they reported as it was going on. And the sheriff's department was asking for additional information as well. And again, as I sort of see this story, I do wonder, Jolanda, what type of investigation was happening immediately? Did authorities?
Very sad, but ladies and gentlemen, we can't keep on harping on the same story. Rest in peace to Nolan. But there was no witnesses until the evidence come out of some type of physical proof that we can work on. At this point, it's just accusations. Rest in peace to Nolan. But what I don't like is that certain content creators are making countless of videos spreading racial division, making us hate the white person. And I want to say this: if you hate white people, you're gonna have a long life because there's a lot of white people in the United States. This story has exposed the racism hitting within a lot of colored folks. I understand Nolan passed away, but we can't just point the finger at the white person without physical proof. We got to stop the cap. We have to do better. HC Picks signing out, ladies and gentlemen. If y'all watching this on playback, please let me know your thoughts in the comment section. If you disagree with my take, let me know. If you have a personal take, also let me know in the chat room. I'm out of here. Y'all take it easy.